Good afternoon, children. I am Mamta Sankolli. I am going to take you economics. I am a social science teacher for you. I am going to deal with the economics part. I am going to start you second chapter, people as a resource. Right. So now let us begin the chapter people as a resource. The chapter people as a resource is an effort to explain population as an asset for the economy rather than a liability. Yes, very important. How do we see the population? We see the population as a burden for our country, but we should not see like that. We have to see in such a way that it is an asset for our country. It is not at all a liability, but it is an asset. We have to consider it as a property of our country. Population becomes human capital when there is a investment made in the form of education, training and medical care. Yes, very important. When you are considering a property, you have to make some investment in it. For example, when you are building the house, it is your property. What you do? You invest the money. You make renovations work, you make furniture work, you decorate it with curtains, you decorate it with the showcases, glasses, right? You make a color windows, right? Why you do all these things? You give the beautiful paintings to your home. Why you do it? In order to decorate your home, in order to make it look nice, beautiful. For like that, in order to make population as a human capital, what you have to do? You have to make the investments in the form of education. You have to give your people education. You have to give them training. You have to give them medical care facilities. In fact, human stock is stock of skill and productive knowledge embodied in them. Yes, you have to give them skills, you have to give them productive knowledge in order to make them healthy, in order to look them wealthy, in order to make them as an asset for our country. You need to put all these things. People as resource is a way of referring to a country's working people in terms of existing productive skills and abilities. Right, in order to make them perfect, in order to enhance their existing skills and capabilities, what you have to do? You have to give them education, you have to give them proper training so that their skills, their talents come up in such a way that they become to the asset of our country. Right, look at the population from this productive aspect emphasizes its ability to contribute to the creation of gross national product. Like other resources, population also is a resource, a human resource. Like all other resources, what is population? Population is also a human resource. Human resource means what? Which can be used again and again. For example, a human being can work for how many days? He can work for years together. He can work for 35 years. He can work for 45 years for a company. So he becomes the property of the company. Right, looking at the aspect, the productive creation of the gross national product. He is the one who is the creator of the gross national product. He is the one who increases the GDP of our country. Like other resources, population is also a human resource. This is a positive side of a large population that is often overlooked when we look at the negative side. Considering only the problems of providing the population with food, education and access to health facilities, when the existing human resource is further developed by becoming more educated and healthy, we call it as a human capital formation. Yes, when we are going to underline it, what is human capital formation? It includes the population with food, education and access to health facilities. If all these three facilities are there, that we are going to call it as a human capital formation. That adds to the productive power of the country, just like physical capital formation. It adds the product to our country. Product means it makes us powerful in the country. Because of in the 2020, Narendra Modi said that year 2020 is going to give the labor to whole of the world. Our Indian youths are so much, 80% of our India's population is of the youth. We are going to become the India is going to give labors to the whole world, because our population is more and we have a younger generation, younger population, so they become the physical capital formation. Investment in human capital through education, training, medical care yields a return just like investment in physical capital. Yes, it returns, it gives the returns. Returns means profit. As you invest in others, for example, you invest in the plot. What happens? You take a plot of a 30-40 site for 5 lakhs. After 5 years, when you sell it, you will get 10 lakh. Means how much profit you want? 5 lakh rupees. Like that, human is also a capital, is an asset for the country. You can ask how you are asset for the country. When you are working, you pay taxes to the government. When you pay taxes to the government, you become asset for the country. So it is most important that you have to work in the country so that you become the asset for the country. Investment in human capital, though education, training, medical care yields return just like investment in physical capital. This can be seen directly in the form of higher incomes earned because of higher productivity of more educated or better trained persons, as well as higher productivity of healthier people. You can see, because there is a higher productivity, we can see there is a higher healthy people are also there. When productivity increases, income increases. When income increases, what happens? Your health facility, your education facility, your whatever the medical facility which is necessary for you, it increases. So here is the question: what is human resource? Is it like a land or labor? It is more than that. The boy is saying that it is more than that. Land, it may go, labor, it may labor. Human resource is more of all of that. It is more than that. What is human capital? Is it rupee, paise or dollar? It is more than that. Yes, human capital. In his lifetime, he can earn more money. He can earn lot of things. He can do lot of things. So, human capital is a big capital. It is more than all of that. The girl is telling that it is more than all of that. Looking at the photograph, you just see the photograph. Can you explain how a doctor, teacher, engineer and a tailor are an asset to the economy? Just see, you need a doctor, you need a teacher, you need an engineer to build up the country, to build up the society, to have a healthy environment, to have a healthy society. You need a doctor. To build up good citizens of India, you need a teacher, you need a tailor to stitch your clothes, you need an engineer to give the good technologies to you, right? Good research and developmental works carried out in the field of technology. It is necessary we have the good engineers in India to construct the dams, to construct the big buildings, offices, big memorials. Whom we need? We need the engineers. Big factories, right? We need the engineers. To build up big machineries, what we need? Large machineries, huge machineries. Whom we need? We need the engineers. Not only do the more educated and healthier people gain, though higher income, society also gains in other indirect ways because of the advantages of more educated or healthier population spreads to those also who themselves were not directly educated or given health care. In fact, human capital is one way superior to the other resources like land, can make use of land and capital. Yes, land and capital cannot become useful on its own, right? So, land and capital cannot be made useful on its own. Only when human capital is invested in that, it becomes useful. If there is a plain land, barren land, how it is useful? When you construct the buildings, when you construct the factories, when you construct the educational institutions, when you construct the hospitals, it becomes useful. So, only land, it is not at all useful. When you put the human resource into it, it becomes useful. For many decades in India, a large population has been considered a liability rather than an asset. But a large population need not be a burden for the economy. Excuse me. Excuse me. A large population cannot be a burden for the economy. It can be turned into a productive asset by investment in human capital. A large economy, a large human capital can be made useful, can be made. For example, when they are making roads, now you are seeing everywhere in Mudhol they are making roads. How many people are employed in it? Around 10 to 20 people are working. Sometimes in national highways and there will be 300 workers involved in it who are working. So it provides employment for how many people? More than 300 people. It is providing the employment. Definitely human will become the productive asset to the economy. For example, by spending resources on education and health for all, training of industrial and agricultural workers in the use of modern technology, useful scientific researches and so on. So we have to use spending resources on education and agriculture. If we start a training of industrial and agricultural workers in use of modern technology, then this useful scientific researches if we carry out, definitely we are going to have a very good profit. We are going to see that our economy is boosting, our economy is coming up day by day. Economic growth rate will increase, because when all people start working, when human population becomes skilled, when they get the proper training, what they are doing, they are giving the wonderful works will come out, wonderful projects will come out. Beautifully we can see the works are carried out in the country. By that what happens? We get the large amount of profits, and by that profits what happens? Our economy will be improved, developed, as well as our economic growth rate will also increase. The two following cases illustrate how people can try to become a more productive resource. Story of Sakal. We have to see a small story of Sakal. There were two friends, Vilas and Sakal, living in the same village, Simapur. Sakal was a 12-year-old boy. So you have seen there are two friends living, Sakal and Vilas. Vilas and Sakal are two boys who are living in the village called Simapur. Sakal is a 12-year-old boy. His mother Sheila looked after domestic chores. His father Bhuta Chaudhary worked in an agricultural field. Here you are seeing that mother is a housewife. She is looking after the domestic chores, means she is a housewife, and his father is an agricultural field. He is a farmer. Sakal helped his mother in domestic chores. So in his domestic work, his mother's domestic work, Sakal is helping his mother. He also looked after his younger brother Jitu and sister Seetu. His uncle Sham has passed the matriculation examination but was sitting idle in the house as he had no job. So you can see that Sakal had one uncle, his name is Sham. He has passed the 10th class matriculation, but he is not having any job, so he is sitting in home. Bhuta and Sheila were eager to teach Sakal. They forced him to join the village school, which he soon joined. He started studying and completed his higher secondary examination. His father persuaded him to continue his studies. So what happened? He completed his PUC education, higher secondary education, and what his father said, he told him to join the college. He raised a loan for Sakal to study a vocational course in computers. Sakal was meritorious and interested in studies from the beginning. With great vigor and enthusiasm, he completed the course. After some time, he got a job in private firm. So, even though he had completed the 10th class, he didn't sit in home. What he did? He went for the computer course. He studied the computer course and soon after he got a job in the private firm. He even designed a new kind of software. This software helped him increase the sale of the firm. His boss acknowledged his services and rewarded him with a promotion. So this is most important. His boss, what he gave the promotion because he had done a software by which his sales got increased. Vilas was an 11-year-old boy residing in the same village as Sakal. Vilas' father Mahesh was a fisherman. His father passed away when he was only 2 years old. His mother Geeta sold fish to earn money to feed the family. She bought fish from the landowner's pond and sold it nearby Mandi. She could earn only rupees 150 a day by selling a fish. So Vilas is from a poor family. He is also 11 years old and his father died. So his mother is bringing the fish. She is a fisherwoman. She is selling the fishes and she is earning 150 rupees per day. Vilas became a patient of arthritis. His mother could not afford to take him to doctor. He could not go to school either. He was not interested in studies. He helped his mother in cooking and also looked after his younger brother Mohan. After some time his mother fell sick and there was no one to look after her. There was no one in the family to support them. Vilas too was forced to sell his fish in the same village. He, like his mother, earned only a meager income. So here Vilas was taking the care of his younger brother also, and he was suffering from arthritis, so he was unable to go to school also. So what happened, because of no education, his mother also fell ill. She fell sick. So what happened, only one woman was working, she also fell sick. So Mohan was forced to do the job in his village, and it's the same job, selling the fishes and earning the money. So because of no education, there was no income in their home. In 2 case studies, we saw Sakal went to school and Vilas did not go. Sakal was physically strong and healthy. There was no need for him to visit the doctor frequently. Vilas was a patient of arthritis. He lacked the means to visit the doctor. Sakal acquired a degree in computer programming. Sakal found a job in a private firm while Vilas continued with the same work as his mother. He earned a meager income like his mother to support a family. So what happened, Vilas did not go to the school. As Sakal went to the school, he earned lot of money and he gave it to the parents. And Vilas went to the school, so he was able to earn the money and give it to his parents. But what happened, Vilas was a patient of arthritis, so he was unable to work and he was unable to earn the money. So what happened? He was unable to give money to his family. He also became poor like his father. But Sakal, he got education, he earned money and he gave his parents, so that his parents lived happily. In case of Sakal, several years of education added to the quality of labor. This enhanced his total productivity. Total productivity adds to the growth of the economy. So this is very important. So whatever you are earning, it is considered to be total productivity. I told you, every youth in our country must go for job. He should do the job. He should earn income. Because of income, what happens? The productivity increases. When productivity is increasing, definitely there will be the development of our country. Why? Because you are purchasing the goods and services, you are buying the goods and services regularly, you are paying the tax to the government. For example, you take one pencil, it is written MRP 5 rupees, maximum retail price. In bracket, what is there? Inclusive of all taxes. So 5 rupees pencil, if you are buying, it includes the tax which you are paying to the government. So when you are earning more, you buy more and more goods and services. By that, your annual income will increase, then productivity will increase, as well as government's income will also increase. Individual, though salary or in some other form of his choice. In case of Vilas, there could be any education, not be any education or health care in the early part of his life. So Vilas didn't get the early education also and early health care also for his life. He spends his life selling fish like his mother. Henceforth he draws the same salary of unskilled laborer as his mother. So as his mother, his salary is also less, his earning is also less. Then what happens? He is also working like a laborer. Investment in human resource via education and medical care and can give you high rates of returns in future. Education will definitely give you high returns in the future compared to the person who is uneducated. Education parents are found to invest more heavily on education of their child. This is because they have realized the importance of education for themselves. They are also conscious of proper nutrition and hygiene. They accordingly look after their children's need for education at school and good health. So what happens now today's days, we are seeing that the importance of education has been increased. People are now concentrating on giving good education, good health care facility for children. Why? Because they earn good income in future. They become the good citizens of our country, and also they can lead their life satisfactorily. They can lead their life happily in future. A very virtuous cycle is thus created in this case. In contrast, a vicious cycle may be created by disadvantaged parents who themselves uneducated and lacking in hygiene keep their children similarly disadvantaged state. Here what is happening? People who are not educated, they are not giving proper education facilities for their children, not at all giving good healthcare facilities for their children, so that what we are seeing that the future of the children is also the same. The parents are poor, the children are also poor. If you are born poor, it is not your problem. But if you die as a poor, definitely it is your mistake or the blunder mistake you have done in your life. So even though you are born as a poor, you have to try your best. You have to try your level best to become rich, or at least live a middle class family life or a satisfactory life in the future. Countries like Japan have invested in human resource. They did not have any natural resource. These countries are developed rich. They import the natural resource needed in their country. How did they become rich, developed? They have invested on people, especially in the field of education and health. Yes. Japan is investing in its the human resource. They did not have any natural resource. Neither they were developed nor they were rich. But you can see now Japan has progressed. Japan has become a developed country because they are investing more and more money on the people's education and health. These are the two factors which enhance the economy, which makes the economy developed, which makes the country developed, which will see that the GDP, gross domestic product of our country, increases. These people have made efficient use of other resources like land and capital. Efficiency and technology evolved by people have made these countries rich or developed. Yes, these countries have made the efficient use of the human capital. See, you have to use efficiently and effectively the available resources. Whatever the resources are available with you, how you have to use it? You have to use it efficiently and effectively, so that the resources become an asset to you, a capital to you. ಮನ್ಯಾಗ ಒಂದು ಟ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ನೀರು ಇದ್ರೆ ಹೆಂಗೆ ಬಳಸ್ತೀರಿ? ಬಟ್ಟೆ ಒಗ್ಯಾಕೆ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಿ, ಭಾಂಡಿ ತಿಕ್ಕಾಕೆ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಿ, ನೆಲ ಒರ್ಸಾಕೆ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಿ, ಆಮೇಲೆ ಸ್ನಾನ ಮಾಡೋಕೆ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಿ, ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಿ. ಯು ಆರ್ ಯೂಸಿಂಗ್ ದ ವಾಟರ್ ಫಾರ್ ಡಿಫ್ರೆಂಟ್ ಪರ್ಪಸಸ್. ಲೈಕ್ ದ್ಯಾಟ್ ವೆನ್ ಯು ಆರ್ ಹ್ಯಾವಿಂಗ್ money, you do how what type variety of you use the money. You use the money to purchase goods and services, you use the money to buy ornaments, you use the money to pay the fees. Like that, by various things you are doing by money. Like that, you have to use the human capital for the country in such a way that it becomes an effective tool to enhance your economic development. Economic activities by men and women. So what are the economic activities men and women should carry out in their life? Like Vilas and Sakal, people have been engaged in various activities. We saw that we saw that Vilas sold fish and Sakal got a job in the firm. So there are various activities where men and women are involved. They are doing the jobs, but they are doing different jobs. Everyone are not doing the same jobs. Everyone are not doctors, everyone are not engineers. There are teachers, there are doctors. It is how the society runs. If everyone become doctor, engineers, do you think the society run? No, it will not run. Everyone are engaged in different economic activities. You have seen the example, Vilas is selling the fish, and you have seen the Sakal has got a job and he is leading the life. The various activities have been classified into three main sectors, that is the primary sector, secondary sector and tertiary sector. You can see there are three sectors in the Indian economy. One is the primary sector, secondary sector and tertiary sector. In 10th, class 10th, you have one topic, you have one chapter called sectors of Indian economy. In that we are going to see in detail what are these sectors of Indian economy. Primary sector includes agriculture, forestry, animal husbandry, fishing, poultry, farming, mining and quarrying. So here you can see in the primary sector we are doing all the activities which are naturally available, which is already there. Right, that we are doing, which is already there, in which is available, the products which are naturally available, the resources which are naturally available in nature, we are taking it, we are doing, we are producing that comes under the primary sector. For example, agriculture, livestock, animal husbandry means cattle rearing, right, sheep, goats rearing, fishing, poultry, where you are taking care of the hens, right, poultry, mining means digging the earth for the minerals and ores, quarrying means that only minerals and ores, you are digging it, you are removing the minerals and ores, so which is naturally available, from that you are doing the things, that is comes under the primary sector. Second one, manufacturing is included in the secondary sector. So manufacturing, trade, transport, communication, banking, education, health, tourism, services, insurance, etc. are included in the secondary sector. Manufacture is included in the manufacturing. Whatever the manufacturing you are doing, manufacturing process you are doing, that is included in the secondary sector. Transportation, trade, communication, banking, storage, insurance, all these comes under the service sector. Hotels, doctors, teachers, they all come under the service sector. Manufacturing means in the secondary sector, some manufacturing process is going on. For example, from sugar cane, you are making the sugar. From the chocolate powder, you are making the chocolates. Right, from the milk you are making the ghee, you are making the butter. So that comes under the secondary sector, or you may call it as the industrial sector. And final, the goods and services, it is coming under where? It is coming under the tertiary sector. These activities add value to the national income. Yes, all these activities are going to add values to whom? To the national income. These activities are called the economic activities. What we are going to call all these activities? Economic activities. Economic activities have two parts. One is the market activities and another one is the non-market activities. Yes, we in economics we are having the two parts. One is the market activities and another one is the non-market activities. Market activities involve remuneration to anyone who performs, that is activity performed for pay or profit. The remuneration which you are earning, right, the things which you are earning in order to make the activity, you are making for profit, then we are going to call, this include production of goods and services including government service, we are calling it as a market activities, where you are going to earn profit, where you are going to earn money. For government activities also you are earning money, you are not doing anything for free, you are doing it to earn the money, to earn the profit, that we are going to call it as a market activities. Non-market activities are the production for self-consumption. These consumption and processing of primary product and own account of production of fixed assets. So here consumption and processing of primary product and own account production of fixed assets. So these are the non-market activities. You are constructing a building, you are constructing some of the things, you are purchasing the land. It is for your own use, not for others. So it becomes the non-market activities. Due to historical and cultural reasons, there is a division of labor between men and women in the family. Women generally look after domestic chores and men work in the fields. Sakal's mother Sheila cooks food and cleans utensils, washes clothes, cleans the house and looks after her children. Sakal's father Bhuta cultivates the field, sells the produce in the market and earns money for the family. Sheila is not paid for the services delivered for upbringing of the family. Bhuta earns money. Here it is very common. We all know that woman is never paid for the services she has done for the family. For example, she takes care of the child, she takes care of the husband, she take care of the old parents of the husband, but she is not paid any money, right? Whereas the person, the husband who is working in the field, he earns the money. He gets the money for the work he has done. Whereas Sheila, being a housewife, is not paid anything for upbringing the children, for taking care of the old parents. Geeta, mother of Vilas, earned income by selling fish. Thus, women are paid for their work when they enter the labor market. So this is happening. Geeta is paid here, mother of Vilas, she is paid when she enters the market. When she is selling the fish, she is getting the money. If she is not selling the fish, she will not get the money. When she enters the market only, she is getting the money. Their earning, like that of their male counterpart, is determined on the basis of education and skill. Yes, on the basis of education and skill, they are paid. They are getting the money. Education helps individual to make better use of economic opportunities available before him. So education, it helps the individual to make better use of the economic opportunities available before him. What are the economic opportunities are available? We have to use it properly in order to enhance our life, in order to make our life much better. Education and skill are major determinants of the earning of any individual in the market. A majority of women have meager education and low skill formation. Yes, this is very much important. A majority of women, they have very less education and they have very low skill formation. So only Modi ji has started Beti Padhao, Beti Bachao. For this case only, women in India are less educated and they have very less skills compared to the men of our country. Most women are paid low compared to men. Most women work where job security is not there. See here, women are paid very less when compared to men. If they work as a labor also, they are paid less, 250 per day. If he is a man, they are paid 500 rupees per day. Half of the salary is given to the woman, where she has to be paid equal wages. But what they are doing, they are discriminating the salary between the men and women, right? Job security is also not there in those sectors woman is working. Most of the women are working where there is no job security. Various activities relating to legal protection is meager. Employment in this sector is characterized by irregular and low Low income. In this sector, there is an absence of basic facilities like maternity leave, child care, and other social security systems. Yes, where woman is working, she is unable to get the legal protection. She is not given even the maternity leave also. Sometimes they are cutting the salary if she is not regular to the work. They are giving very low income, and that also if they are giving her very less salary, and they are cutting, if she becomes irregular, she is removed out of the institution. She is her payment is cut because of the leaves. Like these things are happening for the woman. In this sector, there is a absence of maternity leave is not there, child care facility they are not giving, and other social security systems are not available to the woman. However, women with high education and skill formation are paid at par with the men. Yes, women who are having high education are paid very good salary compared to the men. They are getting very good income compared to the men. Among the organized sector, teaching and medicine attract them the most. Some women have entered administrative and other services, including jobs that need high levels of scientific and technological competence. Ask your sister or your classmate what she would like to take up as a career. So you can ask your sister or any other who are with you what career you want to take up, because doctors, engineers, right, who are working in private companies, they are paid very good salary equal to men. They are paid in some private schools also, they are paid very good equal to men, so that they earn very good income for their family. Okay, thank you. From next class I will continue with the quality of population. Thank you.